All right, this is BLEAV Packers. This is Ahman Green Bay Packers all-time leading rusher, and we have a quick recap of the Packers versus Giants. Nice win out there in New York area there, 27-20. So the Packers bounced back, having two losses coming in, and then also so they go on the road, get a nice bounce back win in a gritty style of winning 27-20 versus the New York Giants, led by Jordan Love. He had a nice passing efficiency, and then Christian Watson showing up, making some big plays, being back on the field. You'll find out he's been scoring a lot since he's been back on the field since his injury. So good job there. So Watson caught 2 touchdowns, including the game winner. That was just 4 minutes left in the game. So despite battling injuries to key starters like Josh Jacobs went out early, and then Quay Walker also was out later in the game, the Packers offense stayed balanced, and the defense still sealed the win late with a crucial red zone stop for them. So defense is functioning at a high level and doing what they need to do. So the victory pushed Green Bay to 6-3-1. So keeping them firmly in an NFC North playoff hunt and the NFC hunt headed into a crucial divisional matchup, which is going to be divisional matchups up and down the slate right now. When I look at this schedule here, we have, let me see here. I'll put it up here. Oh, here we go. Sorry. Yeah, we got Minnesota this weekend. We got Detroit next weekend. We got Chicago, and then out to Denver, then back to Chicago, but back in Chicago. First Chicago's in Lambeau. Second Chicago is in the first one is in Lambeau. The second one is in Chicago, and then Baltimore comes to Lambeau Field. Then also Minnesota Vikings are back in, I'm sorry, Minnesota Vikings is out in U.S. Bank Stadium in Minneapolis. So we got a treacherous 2 months of football for these guys. So in this victory against the Giants, it wasn't flashy, but it was composed. That's how you supposed to win road games in November. Ain't got to be college football wise where it got to look, big score and you impress the AP vote and all that. No, you just try to go out there and get the win any way you can. All right. Now let's kick it in the drive into this next game coming up here in the next couple of days here. So we got the Vikings 4-6 at the Packers. Like I mentioned, 6-3-1. This game is going to be 1 o'clock Eastern time, 12 o'clock Central time in Lambeau Field on Fox. And this show is BLEAV Packers, sponsored by FanDuel now. So the Packers line is by 7 right now. And so in this fun series for all your history makers out there or your history markers like me, Packers lead the series 66-60 and 3. So it's been 3 ties in the history of this rivalry matchup. And again, like I mentioned, big time rivalry matchup here. So it's renewed for the season. This is the first time they're meeting. It's always personal. When the Vikings visit Lambeau Field, I remember the times when I was playing when we weren't having a great season or they won't, vice versa. It didn't matter. We came and tried to mess up their season, kick their butt, in other words. So Minnesota has won the last meeting, which they did 27-25 in December of 2024. But this time the Packers have an edge in form, defense, and confidence. So Green Bay has a lot at home. Hasn't lost at home since early October, and can tighten right now. They can tighten their grip on the NFC North with the win here, because remember, Detroit out there is close, and now Chicago is actually in front. So we got some good games coming up in the NFC North, and are really all around professional football. But right now we're talking about our Packers, y'all. So what Packers got to focus on for here is control the game. The Packers offense has climbed up to 12th overall, which is fantastic. So thanks to steady quarterbacking from Jordan Love, even though he's made some mistakes here, teams kind of force him into uncomfortable situations, but he's able to battle out of it and not make a whole lot of mistakes. But also the emergent chemistry of him and Christian Watson getting back on the field, right? So even with the loss of Tucker Kraft out for the year, Love has relied on Watson, Romeo Doubs, Josh Jacobs out the backfield, also Emmanuel Wilson, and then Musgrave when he was able to step in right away last week. So running backs in the short passing game is all part of his progressions of people to go to. So, however, Green Bay needs more consistency on the ground. Josh Jacobs, even though he's questionable with the knee, and Emmanuel Williams he's obviously going to get plenty a burn or getting some reps in this game. So the Packers offensive line, that's where they've been beat up a little bit up in the front with the big guys here. Let me check out the depth chart real quick. So the guys up front that need to get healthy and stay healthy, we got the kid from San Francisco, Aaron Banks. He's a little beat up, and Zach Tom back has been up and down. And Elgin Jenkins right now is on IR. So hopefully the offensive line could pull it together, next man up mentality to make sure they could keep the offense rolling and keep the ball in Jordan's hand, and obviously, open some holes for the run game. So the offensive line will have to hold off tough defensive line and a tough defense coached by Brian Flores. So that defensive front for the Vikings ranks 10th in total defense and thrives off creating negative plays, so creating problems for a quarterback and his offense. So if the Packers keep Love clean and establish the run early, this thing could get out of hand real fast. But they have to do those two things. It's easier said than done. All right. So Vikings focus here is steady the ship. So rookie, even though this is technically his rookie year, but the young quarterback J.J. McCarthy is learning on the fly right now. And Minnesota's pass game is 23rd in the league and has struggled to find its rhythm. Even though they have a perennial Pro Bowler in Justin Jefferson, he's definitely long overdue for a 100-yard game. But well, you got to wait and see. Hopefully, the back end of our defense can hold him not to do that. So him having that 100-yard game one day remains Minnesota Vikings X factor. So expect Minnesota to lean on Aaron Jones. Yes, he's in purple, and then he's a little older, but hey, they're leaning on him right now. And Jordan Mason to test the Packers defense that has allowed 138 plus rushing yards over the last three games. So some quick key matchups for the Vikings. Quick key matchups for Vikings and Vikings running back and the running backs and the Packers defense. So the Vikings are right now averaging 4.7 yards per game, but just 4.7 yards per carry, but just 103 per game. So excuse me, slow down, AG. So Packers run defense is ranked 7th, which is great, but recent trends shows vulnerability, as we saw Rico Dowdell against the Carolina Panthers, who had that 25 plus carry game to basically give it to the defense and kind of beat them up in a tight loss there, 2 weeks ago. So if Minnesota's ground game can find balance, it could keep McCarthy out of long third downs, and otherwise expect Micah Parsons, who is leading with 57 pressures in the NFL, and the Packers defense could feast on them if they don't get that run game going. And so with this being late in the season, this important area that I'm about to hit right here, injuries is huge, because when people are out now, it might cost them the season. So right now, the Packers have a lot of guys out, unfortunately, but not a ton of key players here, but also in the same great players for the team. So right now, cornerback Nate Hobbs out with the knee. Jaden Reed, wide receiver, is out with a foot and shoulder injury. Josh Jacobs has a knee. He's questionable right now. And Quay Walker has a neck, who is doubtful. And then wide receivers Dontavian Mix and Savion Watson, questionable. And then Brian McManus has a sore quad, but he is still expected to play and also kick. So the Vikings, very short list, 2 guys. Jonathan Grenard, linebacker, outside linebacker, is questionable. And center Ryan Kelly is out with concussion, questionable for trending upwards. So we'll see if he passes concussion protocol come kickoff. So the biggest thing, what's at stake here in this game? Green Bay keeps neck and neck with Detroit in the NFC North, and then strengthens their playoff position in the NFC overall. And then Minnesota right now, if they get this win, they're just fighting for survival. A loss could all but end their postseason hopes right now. So if they'll fall to 4-7, because right now they're 4-6, that is a tough hill to climb, trying to get back into the ranks of getting into the playoffs. So stats to know going into this game: Packers defense ranked 6th overall, allowing just 24 points or fewer in 12 straight home games. Jordan Love has a great touchdown percentage, 17 touchdowns to 8 interceptions in this season so far. Outstanding. Christian Watson has scored 4 touchdowns, like I mentioned earlier, 4 touchdowns in 3 games since he's returned from his injury. So, and then the Vikings quarterback McCarthy has the league lowest completion percentage at 52.9%. So that's among all qualified starters right there. So he has some work to do there, and this is why we got to make him uncomfortable. Keep that percentage low and drop it down even a notch. So turnover differential, this is the biggest aspect of this matchup this weekend. Packers +1, the Vikings -9. So right there's an edge for us to continue to make J.J. McCarthy uncomfortable, continue to make that offense one-dimensional. That means they have to run the ball and can't pass the ball. And then the run game is going, for the Minnesota Vikings and no pass game. That means they're not going to get far up and down the field. So jumping in a little bit of fantasy before we jump off this show today. So fantasy tip: if Josh Jacobs sits down for today's game, for Sunday's game, Emmanuel Wilson will become a sneaky fantasy flex. He ran for 40 yards and a touchdown on just 11 carries last week against the New York Giants. So he could see 15 plus more touches if Jacobs can't go. So think about that. And I got him. I got Josh Jacobs. So I think I've already made that adjustment and put in somebody for my bench already. So to wrap up this and a couple little segments, we got keys to the game and my McCarthy early and often make him feel uncomfortable in that offensive backfield for the Minnesota Vikings in Lambeau Field. So that means also the crowd, you need to get into it. For everybody listening to this podcast here on the BLEAV Network, Spotify, or wherever you download your podcast, make sure you get loud if you go to the game, because then that'll make it hard for the young McCarthy. Hasn't played in no Lambeau Field yet, and he's going to have his first experience. It's going to be a tough one too. So then for the offense, run the ball, whether it's Josh Jacobs or if it's Emmanuel Wilson, control the tempo with the run game. And then the biggest thing, limit the penalties, right? Don't give Minnesota second chances. Don't have, this is a rivalry game. Emotions can get high. No pushing and shoving after the whistle, because always the second man get caught, right? Let that stuff go. Be professionals. Know your mindset. Know this is a rivalry game. It can get snippy out there. Don't fall into the vicious cycle. All right. And win special teams. So McManus, health matters after missed kicks. So hopefully he'll come in a little bit healthier and be able to nail his kicks when he's out there on that field. So like I mentioned, my prediction, I've been talking about what the Packers must do: control the ball, hold on to the ball, play a clean game from Jordan Love. So I predict the score. They could probably get pretty high up there. 27 for the Packers, 16 for the Vikings. I think that offense was going to have a hard time in Lambeau Field with the team playing great ball, and then the fans getting even louder on that in the stand. So Green Bay defense at home is going to be too good, and Jordan Love will be finding his stride. And unless Minnesota gets a vintage Justin Jefferson type game where a whole bunch of magic happens with him and the ball, one-handed grabs and things like that, and a lot of touchdowns, then we're going to have a different game. But Lambeau stays locked down, and they're going to come away with the victory this weekend in Lambeau Field at 12 o'clock Central Standard Time, 1 p.m. Eastern, kickoff time. So I hope y'all going to be ready. I know I will be, even though I'm not in chilly Green Bay. I'm going to be down here in like 80 degrees in Houston, but I hope you guys enjoy the game. And this is Ahman Green, BLEAV in Packers. This gave you the preview of the Minnesota and Packers game and the recap of the New York Giants out. The Packers beating them out in New York City. So hope you enjoyed the show. Please download this podcast, and in the description of the show, please click the links. Follow me on my Twitch channel, Ahman Green TV, and also NIL TV Esports, where I stream a little bit of football, a little bit of Call of Duty, and some Halo every now and then, and some Madden of college football as well. So hope you enjoyed the show. This is a BLEAV in Packers. This is Ahman Green, Green Bay Packers all-time leading rusher, and you just got done listening to my recap and preview of BLEAV in Packers at Lambeau Field versus the Minnesota Vikings. Enjoy the game, and see you next week for the recap of the win. Go Pack, go.